I'm Luther Ocasio. I'm an experiential designer based in Atlanta, Georgia. I craft and curate multi-sensory experiences that have people connecting with themselves, with their environment, and with their creativity. So if you ever find yourself in Atlanta, or you want to look us up online, we're the Bardo. It's good to get out of your head sometimes. My head is my head is really interesting. It's like that kind of like comedian trope where it's like people who make other people laugh and like smile can sometimes have like the darkest of thoughts type of reality, and like so it's balancing like my inner world with my outer world, and uh, kind of like recognizing when I'm walking through the dark forest, but not necessarily like getting stuck in the forest, which I do tend to get stuck in the forest. And thankfully, I have some people in my life that I really can count on to like uplift me while still acknowledging the areas of growth that I have.
Yeah. Well, I like to look at it like the route you think that you take from where you live to get here. You know that route. You could close your eyes and tell me that entire drive, right? From there to here. Did you drive here? Yeah. You know where the dips are in the road. You know where the speed bumps are. You know the light that takes forever to change. You know exactly where those pieces are. You know where they're going. But it's like allocating for those speed bumps, for those dips in the road. It's like you're gonna hit one that you didn't know about. But it's like getting to that space of like, it's okay. I know I can go through this speed bump. I know I can go around it. I know I might have to sit here a little bit longer than I expected, but there's like with purpose. I'm still know where I'm going.
Something that I often need to be reminded by, and or reminded of rather, and it has to do a lot, I think, with sometimes the messenger, you know, when I can't, or when I'm too bogged down to deliver the message to myself, um, it coming from the right source really helps to motivate me. Sometimes, um, like in this energy that we're in right now, it's like you can't expect a person that like you're upset with, or necessarily, or even in the state of like the person who traumatized you, or if you want to use that word or something, to like heal you. It's like it's kind of like that just doesn't make sense, right? Um, so sometimes in my life, I am holding on to emotions that were sparked from a certain individual, and then I'll bring up that these emotions with the said individual, and it doesn't necessarily doesn't help the manner or the situation at hand in those regard. It's like okay, like I need an external voice to look at the situation and provide the clarity outside of the stories that we too may have in regards to the story. And so that's something that I'm learning about, is like to have tact with communications.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I may want to get this out, but is this really the like most effective way to get this
Yeah.
out? Like could I like come back to this at a later note and like do some of my own unwinding, and then come back to it with a more like empty heart, um, and like less fear, less uh, anger, less hurt, and come at it from a place of stillness. Yeah. And that's a big learning curve for me, because I am a lot of fire. I am like a fiery being, which is ironic in some ways, but not super ironic. It's like I think I resonate with the fire element in Chinese medicine. Uh, I am a Scorpio, but I also have a Leo rising. So it's like fire. I have a lot of fire in me, and that's okay. It's just fire can consume. It's like you ever
For
watch
sure.
Avatar? Yeah, it's like
Watch it again.
yeah, I've gone through a couple of rewatches in my life, and every time the lessons get stronger and stronger. The element of fire is like so beautiful. It's this like dazzling thing. Like we can't. Fire is one of the things that like CGI has like a problem recreating. Like water is kind of easy for CGI to like get down, but fire. That's why like explosions in movies and stuff are always like real because fake fire looks weird. Uh, and so it's just like fire is just this beautiful, encompassing glow. It's got a strong energy to it, but it also like it can destroy forests. It can destroy homes when out of control and out of hand. And part of my journey right now is just learning how to channel my fire into the right areas without it overflowing into the rest of my life. Working out helps with that. I have you say it's there's discipline to working out, and I have not been the most disciplined lately.
Well, I find that so many things we have this structure that we think it has to have, you know, and maybe that discipline is I'm committed to doing this when the right energy's there, and I'm going to change my story that it's going to be there, and it doesn't have to be a certain amount of minutes or a certain amount of reps. Like, I've been practicing being more flexible in my workouts. And like, I used to be so regimented. I'm going to do 12 sets of this and 12, whatever. And now I'm just like, I'm just going to do some curls. And then when it changes, I'm going to do something else, whatever. It's like, just take the like pressure away from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like because we're all connected to the moon. I mean, especially women, but everybody, because we're 75% water. So the moon flows in these different cycles, that our bodies flow in different cycles as well. So that's why discipline can be so difficult for so many people because we aren't consistent every single day. So we're trying to force ourselves into some sort of consistent discipline practice can be challenging.
Yeah. I could be more gentle, more feminine with myself in a lot of ways. I grew up with a very beautiful, very strong, uh, and masculine mother. She had to be a mother for four boys, so like there was no avoiding her masculine energy. And and then like my father being like also very masculine when he was around, and it's like the softness, the gentleness is like something that my mom is now really starting to accept about herself. Now that she's kind of like all her children are grown up, she has space for herself. She can be more soft and more gentle with herself, and it's a beautiful to be around her during this era, and to be encouraging her as she goes through this. And it's also nurturing as like I heal my child wounds, and as I go about reconnecting my relationship with my mother to connect with her from a more nurturing stance than the perspective that I had of her while I was growing up, which was like her being a little bit more chaotic and cruel and like harsh, um, which I feel like most children feel about their parents in some way or another. And yeah, it's just like taking the lessons that I'm reparenting with myself, and that I'm actually like reparenting with my actual parent, and like learning to like lean more into that softness. And it comes in waves. It comes in big waves, like uh, kind of talking about the saying yes and the saying no to things. Like if I say yes to too many things, then I get overwhelmed. I have like a lot of stressors, and when I'm stressed out, like uh, my what's the word when like you're about to set a bomb off. I guess my fuse is very low. Like my tolerance is low, and it doesn't take a whole lot for me to like explode. in those moments because I'm dealing with a lot of internal, external pressure, stressors, and forces, and uh, taking care of myself is saying those no's, saying yes to the right opportunities, and aligning myself with my truth, and then not being so volatile in those moments, and like creating the space for me to be gentle and kind and heartwarming.
You just mentioned it with your mother, and you think back about the way she was with the four boys. And sometimes we get in that, kind of rat race of getting all of the things done every day and forget about those states of just being and just doing things just for fun, for the purpose of like, I just enjoy this. It's not a requirement, it's not necessary. There's no like expected outcome except for the pure joy. So looking at those things to get back to where you're seeing your mom soften up now and doing more of those things and getting more into that. And the mind immediately went to the discipline and the workout, which is good for releasing like aggression and tension, but that's all the masculine of the discipline and the workout. Maybe it's just getting back and do some more coloring.
Like,
You know?
sitting in that creative space.
Yeah.
But as a creative, uh, it feels as that space has gotten like the route to that space is a little bit more elongated, and I have to prepare more and you know find new paths to that space. I created a lot of things in my life from a space of like chaos or from like a space of I have to.
Get desperation forced into it. Most people do. I mean, that's for my personal healing journey. I was all the things. It was a health issue. It was another divorce. It was going into a path of hanging around with the certain people that I was doing coke 3 times a week. Like, what am I doing? Like, how am I in that space, right? So it's making those conscious changes. And I kind of lost my train of thought there, but yeah, it's like not getting to a place of feeling like you're forced into it. That was it. So it's like, okay, something's not right. I'm not feeling my most aligned self. So what are those steps that I can do to bring myself back into alignment of my better, higher self? And is that a creative path? Is it just saying no? Is it taking rest? I think we're in a society that's just over consumed with productivity is like your means for success. I mean, at one point it was money, right? And money can be that like measurement of success for some people. And then it's productivity. It's like, what did I do enough today? Sometimes I just need to be.
That's definitely a hurdle that I have with myself. Uh, we're like unpacking a lot of stuff, which is not necessarily stuff that I haven't opened the door to, and stuff that I'm necessarily like unaware of, which is always like that reminder of like giving myself the message in the right time, and like that's what this conversation is kind of sparking off of. Which again, thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I grew up with a semi-militant father who was also like not very present. But the time that we did spend together, he did instill in a lot of traits which I'm very grateful for, and also traits in which I've had to give myself grace with. Like, if I had my mouth open for too long, he would like smack it closed. He like had me like writing words, which is honestly I appreciate that one, where he had me like writing the definitions in words like over and over and over and over again, like instead of hanging out with like friends or family. Um, on the weekends, he had me like shadow him throughout the city on his like very various gig. He was a gig worker, so he did a lot of things throughout the city, and I was just like there to tag along as his mini me. And a lot of other things in the way that he disciplined me and instilled this concept of discipline in me. And those strings are very tightly wound, and have to always like give myself more grace and realize like, okay, like I'm not my father, and I don't have to do things the way that my father instilled them into me. And um, yeah, they have their time and their place. There's also like the lessons of like what I've learned through my lifetime of like being more, of having more presence, of having more gentleness in those regards. And I think I can sit with that more. I can like lean more into that, and that comes as just like reparenting myself, because neither parents really instilled gentleness in me, in the like weird, peculiar boy that I was, that felt very indifferent to the entirety of the world around me. Uh, it's like not. It's like in some way things were nurtured, and in some ways things were very much so deemed unworthy. Uh, those parts I'm like reclaiming in my adulthood, and partially why like this space exists is kind of like reclaiming my sense of worthiness with myself, not through this space, but through uh, the process that involved getting this space, rather, and creating spaces that are more entwined with the like peculiarity and the weirdness that I embodied so much as a child, and like connecting more back to that child, and letting him feel safe in this current world and dynamic, so that you know hopefully other people feel the same way. And I actually, I take back the word safe, because I really have gotten acquainted with the fact that like like the world isn't safe. Like it's nurturing, rather. Like you don't go into Amazon and just be like, you're surrounded by things that could kill you at any moment, but you're not necessarily concerned with that, because you know that like Mother Earth is nurturing you. It's not necessarily a safe environment by the modern day terms in that regards, but it's a loving environment. It's full of bounty and beauty and all those things. So like the quote unquote dangers of nature don't really don't really stick too hard in your mind. They're not as present, and so I'm starting to really lean into that of I want to create spaces that nurture people, rather than like complete like make them feel safe, because we don't live in a bubble.
Right. Nurtured. I really like that. Yeah, and you don't want to live in a space where you constantly feel like you're in danger, but have to be safe, right? Safety, needing to feel safe means that you're in danger. So I like that nurturing. There's really a lot of power in words. We are casting spells with our words every single day.
I agree. I mean, it takes me sometimes a moment uh, to communicate the things that I want to communicate. Sometimes they like flow just like water, water to wine. But other times, when I recognize a loop or a pattern, I'll take a moment, and I have to reflect on what could be the best substitution for the word.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes I have to repeat a sentence. I'm like, okay, I want to take that back real quick. Let me say it this way. And yeah, it's been a beautiful process. It's opened me up to an expansion of my vocabulary, as I find words that are a little bit more suiting to the message that I'm seeking to relay to others.
Yeah. Well, and then like in the situation you mentioned earlier about maybe you feel like you're in a pattern, right, with an individual, and there's things that you want to say, but oftentimes the story that's in our head gets a little bit foggy and filtered somewhat by the time it gets to our mouth and comes out. So what I've been practicing is writing those stories down, because when you write the story down, it slows down the story from in your head and it gets more clear. And especially if there's a lot of emotion behind it. I'm taking this course now about doing this exact thing, and it's titled Story. Write it out in conversational sentences, not bullet points of this, like conversation, like here's what happened, whatever, if it's what happened and how you felt, etc. And write it out and then read it out loud. It's great if you can do it with another person, but if you can't, then just reading it out loud yourself and then reading it at 70% speed. And then the fourth step is read it at 70% speed and take a slow, real shit, not a fake faux breath, like a deep breath in between each sentence. And it will take the energy out of whatever it is. And then actually allows you to communicate what you're trying to say in a completely different way. Or you can use it to release your old story of your old habits. It's incredible, the writing. So it's weird of like, your story, your dad forcing you, right, to write words and definitions instead of doing the fun things. But now we're like, hey, let's write something down for fun.
Life comes
Right.
around again in those beautiful
Yeah.
ways. And yeah, I'm like I said, I'm very appreciative for those things because they made me the person that I am today. And I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still unwinding and rewinding and all of those things. And so there's just a lot of beauty in remembering where we came from, but also not getting stuck in those moments.
Exactly.
And I think that's yeah, sometimes I think about the journey, and like I've been in Atlanta for most of my adult life at this point. Like I've been here for like 14 years, and I've recently really been contemplating like what does my life look like outside of this space. I've wanted to travel for a long time, and I put up a lot of blockers in front of that, and I think a lot of hurdles to go over. And so like, what does my life look like when I'm not here? Like, what does it look like when I don't have the comforts of that I've amassed over time? The habits that I've amassed over time, the ways of engaging with people, the people I engage with, and it's been really beautiful to contemplate that, and also scary, a little terrifying, but I'm very much so open to that, and I'm open to growth right now at this point in my life. I'm very much so open to like unfurling new leaves and new shoots and sprouts and seeing what new adventures and journeys look like for me.
Expansion.
Uh,
Yeah. And talking about like the facility and the space that you have like here at the Bardo, I wanted to just like ask some more questions about how you got the idea and what your vision is for this space.
I got the idea of the Bardo. It goes back to that weird little peculiar kid. I haven't felt very nurtured by a lot of the environments that I've been in. I'm very particular individual. Things can be too hot, they can be too cold, they can be too salty, too sweet. Just getting that what they call the Goldilocks zone of just right. Um, there's been a handful of moments I feel like in my life where things have just been just right outside of the spaces and that I've had a part in creating, um, and recognizing that I have felt inspired for a long time about creating space and spaces and designing spaces that nurture that part of myself that fulfill me. And creating spaces that nurture the parts of myself that felt like they never fit into a world that wasn't necessarily designed for me. Like I love this statement, like everything is by design or all by design, because everything really is by design, whether it's from like a universal design or humanistic design, everything is by design. And like I didn't feel I didn't feel nurtured by the environments I am. I didn't feel nurtured by the products I was using, by the clothing I was wearing, all of these things that were kind of like put onto me, in the culture of like, you know, modernity, the American culture and things of that nature. I've always been sensitive to a lot of things, and people are always like, like, that's not a thing, Um, sensitive to EMFs, to chemicals and things of that nature. And I just kind of got labeled as weak in my family. Um, and like as if I was like making up stories about the things that I was feeling in those regards. So I think over time I kind of learned to like push away some of the things I'm feeling like, I don't really feel that. That's just like me making up in my brain, like hypochondriac style. Then come to realize as time goes on, studies come out that all the things I was feeling were actually
Right.
valid, and that it was a superpower to be as sensitive as I am and I was. And, you know, I have felt this need to, like, when I would go out, to a lot of spaces, I'm like, okay, like this space is too hot, this space is too cold. Not literally, but
Right.
metaphorically. And find myself critiquing a lot of things. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be a negative Nancy all the time. Like, if there's things that I, and like, there's things that I want to see improved, I can either complain about it, like, I feel like if I bring something up more than 3 times, that's usually a sign that like there's something I can do or
Love
someone else
that.
can do.
That's so true because you cannot create when you're complaining. And that's a great rule of thumb of, okay, I've complained about this once, whatever, 2 times, it's starting to get frustrating. The third time is do something different or stop complaining.
Yes. Yes. And I realized, like, okay, everything I'm like complaining about is like technically a business, or just like in some way, shape, or form, if I want to look at it like that. But also just like an area of improvement,
Yeah.
an area that can be redesigned and improved upon. And that's like the aspect of design. Design is like you're going through iterations. Like we go through iterations as a society, as like the culture that we inhabit, and or I guess the culture that we embody rather, not inhabit. And so I felt like the culture that I was currently living in needed a redesign. The spaces I was like visiting, they needed a redesign. And going to another person and being like, "Hey, you should change this," doesn't really work out.
Right.
So I felt like, okay, it was time for me to create the space, and I envisioned a lot of different things, and I was coming up with a lot of different ideas. I eventually won a community grant that enabled us to start this space. I pitched them the idea of this in like more of a grandiose, more of a grandiose vision, like the apex of the vision, and they really liked it. And they said, okay, here's the $5,000. Um, However, we have a timeline, and like this grandiose vision probably can't happen with $5,000 in this timeline. So condense it down into something that fits within this timeline, and we did. We did 2 experiences outside of like at another space, and I realized there's like I wasn't in the space where I wanted to be doing that. Hosting events in that regards is like you have to bring all your stuff, and then you have to take it all out,
Yeah.
and you have to ensure that a certain turnout is made to make a certain amount of profit, and pay everyone out, and it just didn't feel fulfilling. Like there were parts of it that felt fulfilling, but the entirety of the process felt a little draining for the amount of energy that I was putting in, and I wasn't at the space where I wanted to be throwing massive festivals with 500,000, 2,000, 5,000 people. Um, that's where it gets like super profitable, but also like again more hurdles. And so I took the last installment of it and I opened up my studio, and a lot of what the events were on was this multi-sensory design approach of like how can you touch something, smell something, see something, um, hear something in it, create this uniform and fluid experience, and that's really what was fulfilling to me, was that part of the creation. It was like, okay, like I wanted this to smell like this, I want this to taste like that, because we're telling a story, the world building aspect of it, going back to me being as a child. That's kind of like what was opening up, was this childlike wonder of like, when you open up a book and you're envisioning like how the characters looked, like how the world actually is, with the words that the author is writing, but also how those words appear to you in your mind. And that led me to creating the first studio, and then eventually the Bardo. And the name the Bardo comes from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, where they talk about after you die, you go through the Bardos. I think there's like 3 of them.
Really? Okay.
And there's states in between death and rebirth, kind of like, what do they call those things?
Like dimensions?
Not dimensions. It's just like in like, I guess, not purgatory, but like, is it purgatory? Is like in like Christianity, like heaven, you have hell, and I think purgatory is like right in the middle.
The waiting zone. You're in the
Yeah,
waiting room.
and that's kind of what the Bardo is, the waiting zone, the waiting room. And the name was brought up by my co-founder, who I told him that one day I didn't like the name that I had. It was called Altered States, and that I wanted to keep that for the bar specifically. I felt like it was overused, and I get kind of like caught up on overused things. So we threw out a lot of different things and themes and names, and he said the Bardo, and I was like, okay, that sounds kind of sexy. Like, tell me more about that. And then he told me, I was like, okay, this is hitting for me. I'm fucking with it. And we stuck on that, and I think it fits us very well, because we are a space in between, a third space in between work and home, a space that is in between technology, nature, art, and all these other industries and concepts. And also just a space that puts you in between, where when you walk in, you're not who you were when you walked in, but you're not who you are when you're going to walk out.
That. Yeah. That's awesome. And, we're going to do a little walk around here in a few minutes. But what I love about it is you walk into the space and it feels like I'm walking into your home. Like it doesn't feel like I'm walking into a bar or a library or a business. It feels like I'm walking into a friend's home. And it's, we're sitting here on the floor and having this conversation. We've got all different kinds of plants, live plants inside, which I know a lot of restaurants and a lot of businesses are doing that now, but it just feels a completely different energy with the artwork and all the pieces and the sensory, like you said. We've got these beautiful windows behind us, the sun coming in, and the city behind us, which is incredible, our beautiful city in Atlanta, and then just the fuzzy floor and all the textures and everything. And, for me, in my journey, I have relied so much on community, and the people that have been part of my journey have been, as imperative as any plant medicine or shadow work or trauma healing, whatever. The community has been so powerful for me. However, most of the community that I have has been a community of people on a screen or people that I see not very often because they don't live in my community. So when I found that this physical location is in my community and is providing all of that energy and love and space and nurturing that I've been getting on a screen to where, blue light glasses, all day from phones and Zoom calls, which are great and important. But having that where I can see, I can touch you, I can see you, is really important to be able to have that space. So when I found the space and Sebastian and I first came and checked it out, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been looking for, is a place that feels very comfortable when you walk in, and we can immediately have like a serious conversation about, I'm really having a challenging time saying yes to the things I really want to say yes to and no to the things I really want to say no to. It's not just about some bullshit that happened, on the drive over or something. It's real, like, this is stuff. But this is a space, and the energy that you exude in this space is incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, I think it's important to be authentic. You should just be authentic. It's, last time I was in Miami, we went to a restaurant, and the guy, I believe his name was Mario. It was just the funniest experience because we asked Mario how he was doing today. He said, "I'm good, even when I'm not good. I'm good." And we were like, "Wait, what? What does that mean? Like, are you good? Are you not good? Like,
He
you're
wanted to
clearly not
share,
good,
but didn't
bro."
want to share.
And the service was honestly like pretty poor. So he really was not good. But it was just like that interesting, like, I waited tables as well for a good period of my early work life. And it's like that mask of like, like, there's only so authentic that I can be in this space, specifically because of the way that the space is designed.
Oh my God,
Like, I'm
right?
relying on you to give me money, and
Right.
like, I can't be like, I might have some stuff going on in my personal life that really uh, I can't really sit with in this moment because I can't
Right.
bring that onto your life and so forth. So I have to put on this mask, but it's still coming out in certain ways. And yeah, that inauthenticity and like the masking. I've been in a lot of spaces where I feel like I've had to do that, and I didn't want to have to do that in a space that I'm creating.
Yes.
Like when you come in here, like it does feel a lot like it feels homey, it feels cozy. Um, it's the kind of nook in my mind where I want to be, or I want to create. Like, it's a space for you to create your future, your present life, your whatever it is. That's because the space in between is limitless. There's just potential everywhere. Everything is potential, and so you come in here and you're observing, my creations, other people's creations, community creations, and having that connection to the stories, because everything here has a story. Like this coloring book was made by someone who one of our members. This mug was made by our members. This was a gift. I'm wearing like my friend's clothing brands. I made the crystal. This is my friend's art. Like all these things really have a story. Some things, of course, you can't get around, like certain levels of consumerism with certain items, and crafting items, and like everything has a dollar sign, except for bartering. Why is it? We really try as hard as possible to create most of the things we need, to source them from people that we know have it, so that we can tell you a story about the things, because that just adds to the experience.
It does, and it takes us back to our lineage, to our ancestors, and that's what we did. We all brought together our own superpowers, you know. because we all have our own deep inside. We all have that fire within us. And if we're in the right circle, not say the right, there's no right and wrong, but if we're in the circle of alignment and the energy is matching, then we create a beautiful fire together and nobody's going to get burned, you know? But it's us all bringing our pieces to the fire together. Yeah, I love it.
Thank you, thank you. Well, did you want to do a walkthrough?
Yeah.
So this is our projector wall. This is where I put my art up when the sun goes down. This record stand we got from a woman we did a TEDx Atlanta event with. She's an interior designer, Curie Rose. The plant is from Tropical Express. These are rehab plants. She gave us plants that needed a new home that she couldn't manage anymore. And they need some love, and we've been uplifting them ever since. This mirror is made by one of our members, Lunar Liv. She makes all of our mirrors, and among other concepts. This is like where I'm working at right now. We're a studio, and I used to get kind of caught up when things weren't like super pretty all the time. And I'm like, wait, hold on, like it's like the home that is lived in. Like your home is going to have some elements of it being lived in. And so this is kind of the area I try to isolate towards, like the crafting, the artwork, and everything. Even the candle that was gifted from a former intern. We've built some of these mushrooms and things of that nature. So like this is my like workstation a lot of the time. And then of course we'll get into the bar in a second. This piece is by an artist named Leonard Chapman. We have a few of his pieces right now, and he's colorblind, so it's always really interesting looking at his palettes and the way that his lines kind of change colors.
That's incredible.
In regards to that. This is our bar for when we do have experiences, and like you can't really do art events without a bar. We do non-alcoholic bar, but we built the entire bar out of upcycled materials. We usually work with upcycled materials as often as possible. It's made with pallets.
Awesome.
Pallets, and then the only like piece of hardwood is the one on top. It was gathered from a place called Life Cycle Building. They do like wood, bathtubs, like anything home remodeling wise, and like other obscure stuff. They have gathered and they sell it to you for a discounted price, and it's usually repurposed stuff.
So you have non-alcoholic drinks, and you have certain sponsors that help sponsor
we do have certain sponsors
too, right?
So we have 9 Dot, which is one of our sponsors. They're a cannabis beverage. I really love them. It's a friend company. We have Top Tree Herbs. They're a beautiful sponsor. They make kratom tea. That's actually what I've been drinking on in this moment. I get extracts from this company called Healing Herbals. Who else has sponsored us? We've had Breeze recently. They're a new sponsor. They gave us a lot of beverages for our events. It's been very beautiful to have them along on this process, and people have been really enjoying their product.
Yeah, I love having non-alcoholic options because, that was one of the things I realized in this journey is how much alcohol was just like thrown in front of people's faces all the time. Are you watching a game? Are you at a movie? Are you celebrating a birthday, a death, a baby shower? It's like constant. It's like, come on, like let's have some other options. I do want to drink something, but it doesn't have to be something that is a drug, that is a poison that we're not talking about.
Absolutely. I still drink alcohol. I make my own wine.
That's great.
Like right now, it's mulberry season. I've been gathering mulberries. I make syrup. I freeze some. I make honey wine, and I don't think that in the right setting and circumstance, I don't think that alcohol is necessarily a problem, but it is forced down our throat. And so
have to be in every single thing. Like let's have some other options, right?
Absolutely. So we're creating an alternative world here that is a subculture, but hopefully one day will expand. All subcultures eventually make it to the mainstream.
Exactly.
So with the world this alternative world that we're building here, it's not saying that alcohol is bad, but saying that, and rather saying that there's another option.
Yes.
There's other ways for you to produce these states. That's why the bar is called altered states. You can produce these states through breath work, through yoga, through the beverages that you consume outside of alcohol, through just conversation can produce an altered state. And so that's a premise of what we do here. That was actually the first name. We were going to be called Altered States. And like I said, it's like, although it fits into what we do, it's I'll come back to that eventually.
Awesome.
This tree is something that we're still building. It's all made with upcycled materials as well. Has like a really nice structure to it. We got some stuff that we'll add to it digitally as well to make it really cool. But yeah, it's been a really wonderful process to just be here and to create, and
I love this mirror with all the eyes on it too.
It's another lunar live mirror. Like I said, she makes all of our mirrors. So this one I actually had her custom make for us, so it's not for sale, but I had her take a mirror that we already had and kind of like give it some new life because it was just going to get thrown away.
It's incredible. What about the space where the water is?
So last night for our tea lounge, I built this altar kind of area, this interactive altar to get your water station from. And you can take a photo if you want to take a photo. You can grab a poem if you want to grab a poem. It's kind of this like, just.
Oh, great. I want this one. I want to read one. Can I read one? Okay. Did you create these poems?
I did actually write the poems.
You wrote the poems?
Yeah.
I love it.
There may be some spelling errors in there.
Just like a thief whisking away things of value, she has captured my heart. Her warmth and beauty beguiles and bewitches. She is comparable to the finest silks or the most outstanding opera. In fact, she far exceeds both in maintaining my attention. A grim grasp of my heart. Oh, it has been my friend since we were last cared for. I love it.
Yeah, there's definitely two spelling errors in there. It's a firm grasp of my heart. And how long has it been?
Oh.
But when I'm writing things sometimes, like I did this for another event that we had, and I had like 12 poems I had to write. But yeah, no, everyone enjoys them, so that's definitely something to be happy about.
How about, on the tees, it has the little quotes on the tees.
You think we can?
Is there any film?
There's one film in there. Let's see if we can get one. You want to get it?
Yeah, let's do it. Yay!
Right. We'll add this to the collection of the tree.
So what is left on your dream wish list that you would like to add to the space?
I don't think that I'll ever stop wanting to add to the things because it's an ever evolving world. I'm thinking about the characters that come in here. What are the challenges? Because no good story is left without its challenges. That friction is what kind of like pushes the plot moving forward. And by thinking about this world that we're building, it's like, what elements, what animals exist here? How do we engage with the animals? How do we engage with the flora, the fauna, the fungi? So there's just so much to add to. It's like never stopping. The most pressing thing right now is just consistency. This is a business, and so like maintaining that level of consistency with the business is extremely important. It's something that I get bogged down with a lot of time, and I'm really seeking to not get as bogged down so I can focus more on the act of creating.
Yeah.
So that creating a fluid income stream for the brand as a whole that doesn't require us to force anything. You know, that's a goal. That's probably the like what my like eyes are set on the most right now. Is like how can I create that financial stream and have it flowing abundantly uh, without having to rely on the physical community as much. Um, Not that they're not supportive, but rather we're all human and like we all have things that are
Right.
going on in our lives. And I think it's hard for businesses with pure intent um, or holistic intent, rather, to thrive in the same way that other businesses don't, because they don't really care about the impact of when someone spends like $50 and like they don't have like, you know, like they spent that $50 as an investment, um, perhaps because they believe in the brand, whether the brand believes in them or not, but not thinking like they still have like bills and
Yeah.
potentially mouths to feed, including their own,
Right.
and all these other factors. And there's just something that I'm present to because I engage with my patrons like so often, and I hear their stories and um, I hear their lives, and I'm grateful that they come in here. And I'm also like, oh wow, like how can we create a space that you still want to come to, and that's like uh, important enough for you to come to without like putting you back in any type of way in your life?
Yeah.
How can we nurture the people that nurture us in those ways?
Yeah. So maybe like finding, different sponsors and other grant opportunities that would provide so that you can provide a different cost or entry, I say cost, but investment opportunity for people. But in reality, I mean, we have to look at ourselves and investing in ourselves. And oftentimes, people in the spiritual and the healing community feel like, well, that means you don't make any money. But it's hard to do that. Like, that doesn't even make any sense because we live in a 3D world where money is the exchange, it is the currency of energy. That is, you're giving, you're receiving. And I feel like the moments that I have invested my time and my money into being at an event here has more than thrived and nourished me, that it was well worth the investment for me. So I appreciate the opportunity to have a space to come in and to thrive and to have that feeling that you get whenever you come in here. So I thank you for providing this
Thank
beautiful
you.
space for us.
Thank you. Thank you.